All right. All right. Looks like we're going now. So we'll just jump right into it. We got a couple of people waiting already. So let me get the disclaimers out of the way. We'll jump into talking to whoever's here at the time. We got, looks like 7 people already joined. So this is a weekly live broadcast pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central. This is where I am. You can come in here, ask your questions. If you just want to talk about something, you just want to chat, whatever, that all works too. I do my best to respond to all the chat that comes in during the live broadcast itself. So if you have a question you need to get answered, if I can't answer it, somebody in the chat probably can. And we usually get most of them answered. So talk about whatever you want to talk about. It does not bother me. There's no real topics that are taboo. I just ask that you be polite, be family friendly. I always say we can have disagreements. We can have friendly debates. We don't have to hate each other just because of differences of opinions or anything like that. So just don't be hateful with anybody. Be family friendly. Don't start cussing or anything like that. We'll have to kick you out. But other than that, it's all open. So let's jump into it. We got Chester Hickman here. He says, good evening to everyone. Hello to you, Chester. Good to see you. And let's see. Andy Rabbit says, I'm at the Granddaughter's Award tonight. Oh, well, thanks for joining for a little while anyway. But that's probably a little bit more important. So, put your focus there, I guess. Chester Hickman says, what would cause a rabbit to go off feed? I don't know exactly what you mean by go off feed. If they're not eating just a day or two, sometimes that happens. Now, if they don't have access to water, they won't eat. So that could be another thing. Make sure they've got access to water. I'm sure they do. I'm sure you've probably checked that already. But it's not abnormal for them to just for a day or two every once in a while, just kind of slow down on their eating or almost stop completely for a day or two. If it's been longer than that, then I would worry about things like maybe bloat or something, which is a little bit harder to treat. Give her a couple of days and see how she does. I don't know how long it's been already. How old is your rabbit? There's a whole lot of different issues in there that could be causing a whole lot of things that could be causing that issue. And it's hard to know for sure and to be able to really pinpoint anything through, just the comments in the YouTube video, unfortunately. Dawn says, let's see, I'm up and down with the headsets, planting more flowers. This will probably be the only live I have time to take in this summer. If I'm not in the garden, I'll be fishing as much as I can. Well, I don't blame you. I'd be doing that too if I could. Brandon, Whiskey Tango Farms is here, says good evening. Good to see you. Thanks for joining tonight. Zor said, had 60-day-old jumbos drop off last night. Couple hours found on dead. Thought it happens 2 hours, 4 more laying on side in same spot, getting worried, reached to toss them, and off they went. What? So I'm trying to decipher exactly what's going on here. So you got 63-day-old jumbo birds brought to you, dropped off. A couple hours later, you found one dead, I'm thinking. So you thought, well, it happens, right? That's what you're thinking. And then 2 hours, 4 more laying on their sides. You thought they were probably dead. You reached in to pick them up, and they jumped up and ran around, right? Yeah, they do a great job of playing dead. I know exactly if that's what you're talking about. They do that all the time. I always walk out there, and I'm like, oh, no, nope, he's still alive. They do that to me all the time. Brandon for Whiskey Tango Farm says, has a busy weekend, planted 2,000 seeds of corn and tilled the field, planted our 20 by 30 gardens out front as well with peppers and flowers. Wow, that's quite a bit of seed planting. Hopefully it all does well. Alan says, hey, Chris and all, just finished dinner which consisted of scrambled bantam and quail eggs. Nice. Yeah, you got to use up those eggs, don't you? Dawn says she's listening right now, so, well, good. Let's see, Brandon says, looking forward to summer. Also picked up a couple of nucleuses of bees. Nice. I've thought about doing bees before, but I don't know. I kind of go back and forth on whether I want to or not. I don't know. Maybe someday I will, but who knows. Patty says, hello from California. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Life Done Cheap with Lee says, hello, everyone. I made it this week. Well, hey, we're glad you made it. Thanks for joining. Buck Reynolds is here, says hello to everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Hopefully you are too. Andy says, hey, everyone from Southwest Michigan. It's going to be chilly tonight, low 30s. Oh, I think we're done with the 30s. We're going to be down in the mid 50s tonight, I think, something like that. And then it's supposed to warm up a little bit after that. So we're pretty much done with the cold weather. Tony from Toronto, good to see you. Life Done Cheap with Lee says, my kids are 17 days old today and have made it out of the nest box. Mama is not killing it or not liking it. Should I be worried? 17 days old today. No, I mean, not really. No, you don't necessarily need to worry about it. That's pretty common. Usually by about 2 weeks, they're getting out of the nest box. Now, what I usually do is the first couple of days when I find them out of the nest box, I pick them up and put them back in the nest box. But then after that, I don't worry about it because they can get in and out on their own. And then whenever they start spending the majority of their time out of the nest box and I hardly ever find them in it, I just take the nest box out. Not a big deal. It's nothing really to worry about. It's just part of what happens. Let's see. Fu Manchu, that's it. Fu Manchu, that makes more sense. Hello from Northwest Georgia. I moved my first ever batch of jumbo Coturnix quail into my slightly redneck quail hutch yesterday. They're absolutely loving the sand. Well, awesome. Glad to hear that. Hopefully that works out well for you. That hutch design's worked out well for me. So thanks for letting me know you're using it, I guess, and let me know how it works. Zohar says, you got it right. Scared me when they ran off. Yeah, I've had that happen more than once where I've gone in and thought, I lost one. And then, like I said, you just reach down and they just jump up and run off all of a sudden. Life Done Cheap with Lee says, not 2, all 9 have made it out of the nest box. Yeah, it's nothing to worry about. It's 17 days old. I mean, they're 2 weeks old by this point. They could probably get in and out on their own. And they should be okay. And he says, hello from Southern California, I should say. Hello to you too, Annie. Alan Pulley says, I've been thinking about doing bees also. Yeah, Brandon, I think you're highlighting the biggest reason why I haven't even really considered it real seriously, because here's what Brandon says from Whiskey Tango Farms. Bees are fun, but not cheap. Not a cheap thing to get into. It's a blast having them, though. They're very interesting insects. Yeah, I've always thought the same thing. And, like you said, not cheap. I've looked at that now. Yeah, they're kind of pricey to get into. We don't eat that much honey that it really, I don't think we would save anything, wouldn't be, I'd take us forever to pay off the investment. And we have plenty of wild bees around here. So, I see them all the time. I'm not worried about the population of bees. So I just don't know. I don't know if it makes sense to do or not. Kay says, just planted carrots and radishes, still cold here at night. Got in just in time for the live for a change. Well, hey, thank you for joining us here tonight. We appreciate that. Good luck with your carrots and radishes. I've had mixed results growing carrots. Sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't. Radishes are usually pretty easy. It's very difficult to mess up radishes, in my opinion. They usually just put the seeds in and walk away and they grow. And they're ready in like 20 days. They're awesome. I love radishes. Just a little bit of salt on them, pop in your mouth to eat them. They're so fantastic. Now, I did hear that roasted radishes were really good, and I tried that, and that's not my favorite. I'd rather just eat them raw, a little bit of salt. That's how I eat green onions, too, like the spring onions, the little green onions you would buy at the grocery store or pull out of the garden early where they haven't formed a big bulb yet. Just cut the ends off, dab them in some salt, and eat them. They're so good. Andy says, any luck with the turkey hunting? Oh, no, but I got real close this weekend. I'll tell you the story real quick because chat's a little bit slow right now. Before I do that, let me say hi to Maureen Veal from Canada. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. But, okay, I'll tell you the story of turkey hunting. So my cousin and I are out there, and like I told you guys this before probably, we don't have a ton of turkey out where we hunt. There's turkey there, but there's not a ton of them. So it's not like sometimes we go out there, we don't even hear one. I mean, they're moving around. They're on somebody else's property, whatever. We got about 40 acres that we can hunt right there. So we got a pretty decent sized piece of property. So anyway, we're walking around. We're doing our calling and nothing. We're not hearing anything. We walk down to the other end of the property, and kind of the right where we parked to go to the property. There's a big field right there in front of us, tree line right down the middle, and another field on the other side. And they're probably, I don't know, maybe 150, 200 yards across, probably closer to 250 yards across the field. And they're probably, I don't know, they're pretty good size, maybe half mile long, each one of them roughly, maybe close to it, maybe not quite that long, but they're pretty good size fields. So anyway, we walk all over the place, over in the other field. This is kind of a long drawn out story, but you may like to hear it anyway. We walk down to the other end. We do some calling down there, sit down for a few minutes, try to call, nothing. We're not hearing anything. So we're walking back up the main field right there where we park, walking back up there. And we get, I don't know, maybe 200 yards from the tree line that runs in between the two fields. And I saw a turkey walking through the tree line right there. And I said, oh, stop real quick. You know, my cousin and I said, stop. There's a turkey. He's like, where? And he looks. He's like, oh, there's another one. There's two of them. They walk off into the woods, you know, and we're like right on the wood, right on the edge of the woods. They walked off into these woods right behind us, basically. So, excuse me. So anyhow, so we sat down, tried to call for them. They weren't responding to the call at all whatsoever. There's a great big cedar tree we're sitting next to, right in front of. So the woods are behind us, where the turkeys had gone into the woods. And so my cousin says, well, let me get up. Let me peek around the corner. And he does. He kind of sneaks around, looks around the corner. He comes back. He's like, oh, there's a big old tom in there, all fanned out. So we sneak around, sit down on a tree there. We call a couple times. He gobbled one time. He was about, I don't know, maybe 100 yards off from us. We could see him, but he wasn't coming in. He had a hen with him. So he was with a hen, and we weren't able to call him into us. But there was a big log down there, and he was going kind of behind the log and back out in front of the log where, you know, I could see him, and then we couldn't see him. We could see him. We couldn't see him. And I thought, I bet I could sneak up on this thing. He's like, well, go for it if you think you can. So I go crawling through the woods with my gun, and I got pretty darn close. I got up to within about 40 yards of him, but I just couldn't get him. You know, I've got a shotgun. I really need to get him below 30-ish yards. But he wasn't coming to me. They were basically moving through the woods really slow. And he's just moving around back there with his tail fanned, kind of displaying for the hen while she's out feeding off to the side. And they were moving through the woods that way. And I just couldn't, and they weren't running from me, but I just couldn't catch up to them to get a good shot off. So no, didn't get a turkey yet. We got one more weekend. I'll try to get out this weekend and see if I can get one. So that's my turkey hunting story from last weekend. We did see, we did hear another turkey. We couldn't get him to come either. Couldn't get him. The next day we heard one, probably the same turkey we had seen the day before. It was roughly the same spot. He was responding to us pretty good, gobbling, but we couldn't get him to come in. He eventually just kind of walked off the other way. We lost track of him. So anyway, Life Done Cheap with Lee says, what's something new you are thinking about getting into? Well, I don't know if there's anything new or not. I mean, I've often thought about getting into to homing pigeons because I think they're cool. And I've talked about that many times, but I don't know. I'm not real serious about it just yet. So who knows? Maybe I'll come up with something else, but so far I haven't. Kind of taken a slow year this year, I think. We're probably not going to do a whole lot of gardening, just maybe a few little things. We didn't do chickens this year. We're just taking it slow and easy this year. Brandon says, love your shirt. Where did you get it? I don't know exactly. Probably on Amazon or something. I don't know. My wife bought it for me for Christmas, I think. Maybe Christmas. I think it was Christmas. I don't remember. But yeah, my wife bought it for me, so I'd have to ask her. I'm not sure exactly where it came from. All right, that's the end of our chat. Nobody's here, so I guess I'll see. No, I'm just kidding. I won't close out the chat or the video just yet, or the live. I said just yet, but we are slow on the chat tonight. And I never have anything planned out. I told that big, long turkey hunting story. I probably ran everybody off, but trying to fill some dead air, let the chat catch up, and nothing's happening. Hopefully, we did not lose connection. There we go. There's a few chats coming through. Patty wants to know how the rabbits doing. They're doing fine. Let's see. I've got, I'd have to look up. I can't remember the date that I bred my New Zealand. I did a video on it. It was just a couple weeks ago. So I got another 2, maybe 3 weeks before she's due. The other one, my silver fox, they're doing pretty good. They're growing a little slow. They do. The silver foxes tend to grow a little bit slower anyway. So they're getting real close to the 6-week mark. I'm probably going to be sexing them and then splitting them up, males in a grow up hen, does in another. And I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. I may just string a tarp again over the top of that just to make do for a little while. Let's see. But everybody's doing fine. No issues. They're all doing great. Zorak says, getting lots of squash, cucumbers, tomatoes, and corn almost ready. Wow, that's early. When you say getting it all ready, you mean like it's ready to harvest almost, or you're getting it ready to put in the ground? Because here it's like this weekend would be the weekend to put that stuff in the ground. It's not even nowhere near time to harvest here. Rabbit Homesteading says all white rollers and tumbler pigeons are sweet to watch in a clear sunny day. Yeah, I really like the homing pigeon idea. I like the idea of being able to take them somewhere, let them go, and they fly back to. I just think it's a cool thing. But I don't know if I'll ever do it or not. I think about it pretty seriously for a while, and then I kind of let it go and don't think about it too much. Then I think about it again really seriously. Plus, you can rent out the white ones as doves. They are doves. Rent them out for like weddings and things, and you just go a couple $100, go pull a string, open a box, let them fly off, and fly back home. Or, as my friend likes to say, sell them on eBay over and over and over again. Right? That's it. Chester Hickman says, I'm doing rabbits, chickens, ducks, and a couple of meat hogs, looking at maybe getting into goats. I'd like to do a lot of that stuff, but I live in town. I can't get away with a whole lot. I especially could not do hogs. That would just draw way too much attention. Somebody would complain, animal control would come, and they'd shut everything down. I wouldn't be able to have anything at all. So I got to be really careful. I couldn't do goats either. My neighbor had some goats for a little while. She got away with it for a little while. They were pygmies. They weren't very big at all. But I think one of them got out and ate somebody's rose bush or something, and that ended up getting the city called on her. All right, Maureen says, any tips on setting up an aviary to keep the quail happy? I don't do aviaries. I've never done one, so I don't know that I'm the best one to talk about that. If let's see, if we have Kelly here. I don't know if she's in here or not. She does aviaries. Oh, my goodness, I just suddenly forgot her YouTube channel. What is it? Sow and Tear. There we go. Sow and Tear. You can check out her channel because she does aviaries with her quail. She talks about it all the time, so that's probably a pretty good resource for you. Aviary is not my deal. I prefer to keep them up in hutches where I can just easily find the eggs. I don't have to do anything. But there's nothing wrong with it. I know that she does them pretty regularly and has good luck with them. So that would be a place to check. Let me see if I can find her channel real quick, and I'll post a link to it real quick. There we go. I think that's it. Yep, there we go. That's it. Hang on, I got the auto intro playing. I got to stop that. There you go. There's a link to Sow and Tear YouTube channel. Let's see. Patty says, how long in the grow out pen for males? What are we talking about there, rabbits or quail? I can answer both, actually. The rabbits, honestly, I've been selling so many of them, it's probably just until they sell, but if it wasn't until they get to roughly 5 pounds, which with the silver fox usually takes roughly around 12 weeks. So about 6 weeks after I move them off the mom, then, I'd be ready to process them at that point if they're not sold by then. With the quail, I don't separate the males and the hens. I just put all my quail in one hutch. Or sometimes I'll take some to use for future breeders and throw them in with my other birds there. But for the most part, I don't really separate them out. I just throw them all in one hutch, and I grow them out to about 8 weeks, and then I process them. Chester Hickman says, I'm doing rabbits. Oh, we already read that one, didn't we? Let's see. Zoar says, South Texas, almost ready to harvest corn. Wow, that is early. Alan says, let's see, corn and beans coming up here in Virginia, hopefully to get more things planted this weekend. Good luck. Hopefully that goes well. I don't have anything planted yet. I don't know how much I'm going to do, but like I said, probably not much. Sydney Rapp says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you, too. Good to see you. Vicky Quail says, hello from Sacramento Valley, hatching like crazy to share with the community, harvesting English peas and growing cukes and tomatoes. Well, nice. Sounds like you're way ahead of me on the growing season as well. Again, I'm not doing much this year, but even if I was, they wouldn't even be going in the ground until like this weekend. So we still got a ways before any harvesting is going to be done. Eddie says, so I just moved a year ago right after finished my rabbit setup. So that was fun. But this setup and finishing up now, it's definitely an upgrade. I turned my pigeon shed into There's something else. Rabbit meat shed, downsized on pigeons and upsized on rabbits. Best decision. Well, nice. Sounds like things are going well. Glad to hear it. Alan says, my mom has about 25 pygmy goats. Wow, that's quite a few. Don saying, Katrina on So and Tear. Yeah, I figured it out, but thank you. I know Katrina. I mean, I just space out every once in a while. Let's see. Poodle Daddles says, I got a big, beautiful rabbit hutch off of Marketplace. I'm making modifications to get it set up for quail. Nice. The biggest thing on rabbit hutches is usually the wire on the flooring is too big for the quail's feet. So, but that's an easy fix usually. You can just take that off and replace it with like hardware cloth or something and do just fine. Don says, question. I got ripped off last week with jumbo browns, 1 week old. They are standards. I have 12 by 1 inch wire. Now at 2.5 weeks old, I just put them on that wire. Can they handle it? You have 1.5 inch by 1 inch wire. Let's see. I think so. I've never tried baby quail on that big a wire. I use 1/4 inch, I believe. No, 1/2 inch hardware cloth. But 1/2 inch by 1 inch, I think they're going to be fine. I think they'd be okay. Try it out and see. I mean, if they look like they're having a real hard time walking around, then you know it's too big. But they're not going to fall through it. So I think you'll be okay. Scrap 5000 says, what's up, y'all? Greetings from New York City. Smash the like button. Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Don says, I put them on wire today. Got 30 more eggs in the incubator. I need to put this hatch in the cage at 7 to 10 days old like I do the jumbos. I have to clearance these things. I have to clearance these things. Yeah. Okay, I get that. So you put them in the hutch at 7 to 10 days old. Wow, that's a little early for me. I usually wait, not much longer, usually a full 2 weeks before I put them out to the hutch. This time of year, we're getting lows in the 50s, so it'll probably be more like 2.5 weeks because I need to let them get feathered out, and then I'll wean them off the heat a little bit, and then move them out to the outside hutch. Hey, there's So and Tear. I just posted your YouTube videos for somebody who was asking about raising quail in an aviary. I said, I'm not really a good expert on that, but you are. So I posted your YouTube for them to go check out, but you're here now. So if they have questions, ask your aviary questions. I'm sure that she'll be happy to answer for you. So Tara says, hello to everyone from Douglas County, Oregon, about to go transfer rabbits from, is that Massachusetts to the rabbit tractor? No, maybe not. I don't know. So we'll be in and out live. Hopefully everyone is doing well. Probably not Massachusetts. MA.A. I don't know what that is, but if you're going to do it on and off, it's probably not Massachusetts. So Don says, Chris, when you said Kelly, all I could think of was Clarkson, the singer, LOL. Yeah, well, not her. Cindy Rapp says, growing season starts around second Saturday in June here in Minnesota. Cool crops are in. Yeah, we're a little ahead of you. We're, like I said, about this weekend. It's usually Mother's Day weekend is about the time we usually start. Lazy Homesteading says, Northwest Wisconsin here, planting beans and squash next weekend, building raised beds this weekend. Peppers looking good under the grow lights. My first garden in 4 or 5 years. Well, good luck. I hope you have a great one. It sounds like you're off to a good start. Mike B says, I ordered 36 eggs off Amazon. They lost them for 10 days. I incubated anyway and hatched 9. Not great numbers, but as long as I have a few hens, I can build back up pretty quickly. Yeah, that is the good thing about quail. It doesn't take too long to build back up. I just had most of my eggs hatch. Not most of them. I don't know. I got somewhere around a 60% hatch rate out of this last hatch. And so I just moved them out to the brooder just before going on the live. They started hatching yesterday. There's still some eggs in there, so I may still get a few more, but the bulk of the hatch is done. And like I said, looking right around 60% hatch rate. Not a great one, but not terrible. Lazy Homestead says, also my second hatch of quail are out of the brooder. Going to be a fun, busy summer. Sounds like it. Hopefully it all goes well. Dawn says, my jumbos almost go out 7 to 10 days old, but I have heated cages. Oh, that makes a difference. Yeah, mine are not heated at all. So when I move them out, they're just mercy of the elements. That's how they do. But at 2 weeks old, they're usually just fine. Mike says, when you're running Cornish cross in your tractor, how did you package them for the freezer? Well, once processed, we put them in shrink wrap bags. You just dip those in hot water and it shrinks right up around them, tie them off, and, let them rest for usually 3 or 4 days before they go in the freezer. But that's pretty much it. Let's see. So Terra says from Mama's. Oh, you're moving off from Mama's to grow out pens. That makes more sense than Massachusetts. I didn't think it was Massachusetts, but it came through weird. Kyle says from Central PA, Chris, have you tried using your rabbit water nipples with your quail? I'm transferring from rabbits to quail. Thank you. I have not tried using those. I don't think that they would work because you have to kind of bite down on those. The rabbits bite on them to let water out. I don't think the quail would be able to do that or figure it out. They do make poultry nipples, though, that work just fine for quail. You can use those. They work perfectly well. My heated water bucket that I use has those nipples on it, and they drink out of it just fine. But I don't think the rabbit ones would work for them. Let's see. Dawn says, let's see. Talking to Lazy Homestead says, me too. I was in a wheelchair, just got new knees and gardening now. Well, that's good. That's exciting, isn't it? Let's see. I'm skipping over a few where you guys are talking to each other. Cindy says, put 12 jumbo quail in the incubator today. Well, good luck with that hatch. Hopefully it goes well. Zoar says, incubators shorted out a couple of days ago, day 14, and 116 degrees. Oh, well, you still like the Little Giant. I do like my Little Giant. I don't use it much anymore because I have the new one, the Barato, or the Ovation. What is it? Ovation 56, whatever it is. It's a little bit bigger. I like that it's all plastic. It's clear. I can see through it a little bit easier. I like that about it. But I had really good results with my Little Giant. I've still got it. It's up on the shelf up there. You can't see it, but it's up there. And it's worked great. If there was a Little Giant that had that issue, call the company. They'll send you a replacement part or fix it. And they have fantastic customer service, some of the best I've ever experienced. But I just don't use it a whole lot anymore. But it's a great incubator. I had great results with it. Adrian says, one of my 3-week-old rabbit disappeared this morning. Oh, no. I've had that happen. You guys got to see it on video, I think. Hopefully you find it, but who knows? I never got mine. Dawn says, I'm on day 9 of this midget hatch. I hope it's a bad one, LOL. My luck, all 30 will hatch. When I found out they ripped me off, I almost put all the eggs in the trash. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. So did they not? You said they ripped you off. You bought quail and you found out they were standard quail. Is that right? So I thought you bought quail, but you bought eggs and found out they were standard eggs and not jumbo eggs. Is that right? Did they not tell you that beforehand? Was that not something they let you know beforehand? Or was it like, I don't know exactly how that worked. And you don't have to tell me if you don't want to. It's none of my business, but I'm just kind of curious. Mike B says, random fact of the night, if you listen to the song You're So Vain, Mick Jagger sings backup vocals and you can clearly hear him. I thought it was cool to know. I didn't realize that. That's, let's see, You're So Vain. That's Carly Simon. Is that right? Let's see. You're So Vain. Yeah, it is Carly Simon. Look at that. I'm surprised I knew that one, huh? Eddie Charez, I think it is, says, what's the soonest anybody has bred a doe at what age? Hey, there's Andy Rabbit. Good to see you, Andy Rabbit. Well, Eddie, let's see. The soonest I breed does is usually right about 6 months or when they get to be about 80% of what their adult weight's going to be. So if they're going to be a 10-pound rabbit, when they hit 8 pounds, right about 6 months, whichever comes first, well, I like to wait till they're at least 80% of their weight. So even if they're 6 months and they're not there yet, I give them a little bit more. But about the earliest I've ever bred is probably 6 months old. I know some people do it earlier, but that's my personal preference is to wait till they're 6 months old. Don says, I bought jumbo brown chicks, they said, so I said, sell me some eggs when we meet to get the chicks. Oh, you bought the chicks. They sold you eggs and they were all standard size, right? Don says, I had never seen a standard, only jumbos, and they were a week old, he said. I thought they looked awful small. Then I weighed them on 2 weeks exactly, 1/2 jumbo weight at 2 weeks. Sounds like, yeah, unfortunately. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, that is one of those things you got to kind of watch out for. Not all quail are the same. Standards are, when I first started doing this, there was nothing but standards. I mean, that was just the thing. Jumbos were kind of one of those, you heard about them every once in a while, but nobody had them. It just almost seemed like a fairy tale kind of thing. But now it's kind of the standard thing is jumbos. Nobody carries standards anymore. Everybody's got jumbos, right? But yeah, I'm sorry that happened. That's unfortunate. All right, so chat's slowing down again. We got 33 people in here, and we're only at 7:30. We got another half hour to go. Don says, I'll resell the chicks. I was joking with a friend today and asked him if the dog needed treats. Well, that's not a bad way to do it. Or if you have any reptile, owner friends, they'd be perfectly happy to buy them probably. So Much Joy's here, says, hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening to you, too. Good to see you. Andy says, with heavy breeds, especially rabbits, I will give her 1 month for every adult estimated weight. So 9 pounds, 9 months. 10 pounds, 10 months. Yeah, that's probably not bad practice. Deborah says, I ordered my first tuxedos, jumbo, sparkles, etc. from my shire, but won't be here until the end of June. Getting antsy, so I ordered 20 from a gal in Florida, and they'll be here next week. Woohoo, excited. Nice. Yeah, nice. I don't get into all those other color. I do jumbo pharaoh. That's my favorite. That's the ones I do because I'm in it for really meat and egg production. So I don't really care about. I've raised some of those before. The tuxedos, the Tibetans. Some of those different ones before. And I just like feather sexable, bigger birds, and that's jumbo brown. So that's the ones I do. But I'm glad you're getting what you want, and hopefully they do well for you. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, did you hear we Catholics have a new pope? I did, from somebody from Chicago too. That's weird, huh? But yeah, hopefully he's a good one. I'm not Catholic, so it doesn't really make a difference to me one way or the other. But congratulations, I suppose. I don't know exactly how to respond to that. That was a quick turnaround, though, on I thought they usually took longer to pick a pope, but I don't know. It's been a while. I don't really pay much attention to it usually because, like I said, I'm not Catholic. But it seemed like it went pretty quick. Let's see. Keone says, silver fox doe, chinchilla doe, and New Zealand doe all gave birth in the last few days. Sounds like a joke, doesn't it? Like a silver fox doe, a chinchilla doe, and a New Zealand doe all walk into a bar. Anyway, all of the new silver fox bucks someone gave me. Glad to know this 2-year-old is fertile. Well, nice. You got 3 rabbits all giving birth in a couple of days. Congratulations. Jacob LaFave says, hello to everybody. Hello to you too. Thank you for joining tonight. Alan says, think about raising pheasants would be interesting. Yeah, maybe. I don't really have any interest in raising pheasants, but there's a couple of people here that do. They can probably tell you about it. Just not really my deal. I've seen them before. They're kind of neat looking birds. I'm sure they probably taste very good, but they're not super prolific layers. They only lay like once a year from my understanding. So I just don't know that it'd be worth it, in my opinion. So Much Joy says, I just want to thank everyone for their help with the information on pellets and feeding nursing does and kits last week. I found 18% protein at my local feed store, and she now has it free choice. Well, awesome. Glad you were able to get that resolved. Zohar says, local feed store had what we called Cornish cross broilers. He said they grow a little slower than regular Cornish cross, but no heart problems. Have you heard of such a thing? I always heard, from as far as I know, Cornish cross broilers are just Cornish cross. It's the same thing, right? I don't know. The males, the roosters in those grow faster than the hens do. We usually try to get all roosters if we can because they grow faster. But, grow a little slower. How much slower? I didn't know there was a difference between a Cornish cross broiler and a Cornish cross. I always thought they were the same thing, but I may be mistaken. Somebody could probably point that out and clear it up for us. Let's see. Doina Campion, I think it is, says, almost missed the live. Well, hey, we're glad you're here. Says, finally made it. Love your shirt. Well, thank you. Yeah, this is one of my favorites. Yep, good one. I like that one too. Desert Homestead says, hey, Chris, I just had my first successful hatch on Wednesday, 18 of 26. Well, that's pretty good. Congratulations and well done. Better than my last hatch, I think. I think I ended up with like roughly 40 birds out of, let's see, what I said, like 68 eggs or something like that. So, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not a great hatch. But that's okay. I don't need a fantastic one. But Jacob says, just ordered a GQF Sportsman, and I'm super excited. They have 4 to 5 week wait, unfortunately, right now. Yeah, you guys remember, I mean, some of you guys that are my age probably remember this. When I was a kid, I was thinking about this the other day. I go to order something now, and if it's like more than a couple of days, I'm like, oh, man, it's going to take like a week and a half, 2 weeks to get here. But when I was a kid, you'd order things, and every single time, I mean, there was no internet. You know, you were ordering them from like a magazine, you know, ad or something like that. You'd send in a money order or something, or it was always 6 to 8 weeks delivery every single time, 6 to 8 weeks delivery. And it was almost always the 8 weeks. You'd almost forget what you ordered by the time it even got there. That was just normal. That was just what we had to deal with. So, different world nowadays, huh? Don says, pheasants are beautiful. Yeah, I think they are too. Bill Cox is here. He says, hello to everyone. Hello to you too. Let's see what Alan's saying to Don. I agree. What are you agreeing with? Oh, that pheasants are beautiful. Yeah. You know what? Hang on a second. I got to change my chat. It was on top chat again. I may be missing chats. If I missed a chat and didn't respond to it, I am sorry. I just realized it. We're halfway through, and I didn't change it to all chat. So ask again if you need to, and I ignored you. I wasn't intentional. Cindy says, we raised pheasants. It was fun until hubby's aunt with dementia let them all out one day. Oh, no. Oh, that's terrible. Jacob says, Amazon Prime has me spoiled. Yeah, no kidding. Amazon Prime and just everything else, too. I mean, the shipping's, like I said, when I was a kid or younger, you know, probably all the way up to almost high school, it was probably all the way up through high school, honestly, because we didn't, you know, internet wasn't a thing until I was out of high school. It was always like 6 to 8 weeks delivery. Everything was 6 to 8 weeks. Skylord Exotics says, hey, I just wanted to say you got me into quail and your videos are extremely helpful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for watching them, too. I appreciate that. And hopefully... Sorry, I got distracted by another one. Hopefully your quail are doing well. So thank you for watching the videos. I appreciate that. Alan says, I remember those days, Chris. LOL. Yeah, it's crazy the things that have changed, you know, in the world. I was thinking about that the other day. Skylord's Exotics says, my quail are due to hatch soon. Well, good luck with your hatch. Hopefully you have a good one. Lazy Homestead says, funny you talk about ordering from a catalog. Just this weekend, I tried to explain to my teenage niece how we ordered from Sears, Cabela's, or other catalogs by filling out a form and mailing it in. Yeah, it is a different world, isn't it? It's strange. Somebody was saying, I saw a meme the other day that said, you know, when we were kids, we would answer the phone back in our, you know, younger days anyway. You answer the phone having no idea who was on the other end and just answer the phone, hello, and whoever it was, you know, you talk to. Also talking about like how you had to be real quiet because your mom was on a long distance call and how expensive long distance calls were. Man, how times have changed, huh? Zora says, I go back and watch your videos sometimes more than once. My favorite source of great information. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's see. Brandon says, used to be able to order a house that way. Yeah, now you can order houses on Amazon. They sell entire houses. You can buy them. I mean, they're not great big, but you can buy a house on Amazon. Jacob says, let's see, I currently have a box of eggs from Guidro's Family Farm waiting for me to get home. Well, awesome. Good luck with your hatch. I hope it goes well. It's a great supplier. I'm sure you're going to have good luck with it. Desert Homestead says, I remember watching the mail for the magazines. Haha, yeah. Yeah, that's what we used to do too. Or you go through the Sears catalog, you know, for like what you wanted for Christmas or whatever and pick that stuff out. Poodle Daddle says, about 50 pounds game bird starter at $14.94 and game bird grower finisher crumble 50 pounds at $12.63 at MFA today. Well, that's a fantastic price. I haven't been to MFA for a while because, we've got one. That's where I like to buy my feed because it is cheaper. But it's in Neosho, which is about 25-ish mile. I mean, it's about almost a 30-minute drive, not quite. And it's just hard for me to get over there when I need to. I mean, it takes, if I go over there and get food, it takes a full hour and a half to get there, get food, get back. And a lot of times I'm just tied up on a Saturday. I can't make it over there. They're only open till like noon on Saturdays. So I just haven't made it over there lately. And I haven't really bulked up on my quail yet. I heard something moving in the incubator. I think I got something else hatching. But anyway, so it's not as big of a deal for me to pay just a little bit more, buy it at like Atwoods or something, just to kind of feed the smaller flock I've got right now. But when I bulk up and have a little bit more birds, then yeah, I definitely will make the trip down there. I usually buy about 4 or 5 bags at a time at least, to make it worth it. Skylord Exotic Revival says catalogs and landlines. Oh yeah. And my grandma had rotary dial. In fact, we had rotary dial everywhere when I was young, but touch tone. It wasn't even touch tone. It was pulse, but it was touch button phones. Came in pretty early. My grandma still had rotary dial though, and I can still remember dialing, and like you get to like the last number, the number right before, and your finger slips, and you got to hang up and start all over again. It was a huge pain. Alan says some of my garden seed catalogs will still come with these forms, and you fill it out and mail it in. Yeah, but the difference is now they have a website that you can go to and order that way if you want to, right? Lazy Homestead says, speaking of phones back in the old days, remember hearing my parents saying, stay off the phone, I'm expecting a call. Yeah, there was that too, right? Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah, and you had to stand like before cordless phones, they had corded, we had an extremely long phone cord, so I could walk halfway down the hallway anyway and be talking to my friend or something like that, and I didn't have to stand right there in the kitchen to do it. Storm Chaser says quail advice was great. Hatched, made cages, just now getting eggs, getting frustrated with keeping them happy and from killing each other. But thanks for the videos. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't really have a lot of aggression problems with mine. I have had them at times, but I'm kind of curious what kind of quail are you raising? I mean, probably Coturnix, but are they standard browns? Are they whites? Are they a different color or something like that? Or what? Because I'm kind of curious. When I say standard, I mean jumbo brown, I should say. So Much Joy says to Lazy Homesteader, my grandma still fills out a form and mails it in for things. She always tells me she doesn't know how to use Amazon. I try to tell her it's once you click. It's one you click, it's one click, but she just shrugs, LOL. Yeah, that's funny. Hey, what's up, Max? What are you doing? Just coming in to see what I'm doing. K. Moses says, I think there were less impulse buys when you had to fill out a form instead of thinking of an item, looking online and ordering, LOL. Old enough to know better. Yeah, well, there's that too. And now, like, I hesitate to look something up now because I know if I do, I'm going to start getting ads in Facebook, ads are just going to start popping up in my YouTube videos, everything, because I looked up an item, just to see what it was. So it's a little different. Yeah, we get hammered with all the ads now. But anyhow, there was something else I was going to say. I can't remember now. I lost track. Let me look back and see. Filling out forms. Oh, you're talking about impulse buys and things like that. I saw a news story the other day where there was an 8-year-old kid, I think it was, ordered 70,000 dum-dum suckers, off Amazon, I think it was. It was like $10,000 worth of suckers. No, maybe not quite that many. It was like $2,000 or $3,000 worth of suckers. And they all showed up at his house, and his mom's like, what in the world is going on? She ended up working it out. She's going to get a refund, get them all sent back. But still, talk about, definitely an issue, huh? Zora says, what is MFA? It's a feed store, a local one. I think they only got a couple. They got one in Neosho. They got one in Lamar, which is all local here. I don't know where else they may be located. It's MFA Agri Services, I think is what it's called. MFA, is that right? MFA, am I getting that mixed up? Yeah, MFA Agri Services in Neosho. That's it. And then one in Lamar. Those are the only two I see right offhand. They do all kinds of things, but part of it is feed. If you're anywhere near like Southwest Missouri, they're the best place by far I've seen to get quail food. It's much cheaper than anywhere else. Skylord Exotics says, when I was little, my family couldn't afford the new mobile phones, so we still had a phone book and a landline. Yeah, well, I had a landline all the way up until probably about 2003, maybe, somewhere right around in there. Still had a landline, you know. I didn't even get my first cell phone until probably around 2003 or so. The Desert Homestead says all the rich families paid for caller ID. We didn't even have caller ID when I was a kid. I mean, let's see, when did caller ID come here? It was in the late 90s. I was well out of high school. And when caller ID first came to the area, if you had a caller ID box, it was just free. It didn't cost anything. And I don't think it was intentionally that way. It was just they hadn't figured out how to shut it off for people that weren't paying for it yet, because it was just new, you know. So if you plugged the caller ID box in, you just would get caller ID with it. And that was the coolest thing ever when caller ID came out. Don says, I still have a landline. No cell towers around here, LOL. You're one of the few. There's not very many. And cell towers are going in everywhere. The property I hunt at, up until about 2 years ago, I could hardly get a signal out there at all. I mean, almost nowhere out there I could get. And now I get a fairly decent signal out there, and it's way out in the middle of nowhere. So Much Joy says, we had turkey pullets hatched last week. I have 9 so far. Well, that's exciting. Congratulations on those. Hopefully they're doing well. Life Done Cheap says, do you know any fishing? Or do you do any fishing? And if so, what do you fish for? Oh, yeah. Fishing is one of my favorite things to do. Last 2 years, I really haven't gone as much as I used to. I think just getting older, and a lot of times the weekend comes around, I'm like, I just don't want to do anything. I just want to stay at home, you know. But yeah, I try to get out as much as I can. When I was younger, it was every single weekend. Sometimes after work during the week, I would go out. But I had a lot more energy back then, could do it. But yeah, I do a lot of fishing. Mostly, primarily, I'm targeting smallmouth bass. It's primarily river fishing, kayaks. Used to be canoes, but now kayaks. We fish out of kayaks, put them in, float down the river, you know, catch usually a mix, rock bass or goggle eye, smallmouth, largemouth, occasionally some perch or crappie or something like that. But I'm primarily targeting the smallmouth, catch a whole lot of largemouth and smallmouth and rock bass. Those are the 3 that I'm usually catching. And it's almost all river fishing. I'm not a big lake guy. I'd much rather be on the river. Sergio says, hi from New York. I would like to start with meat rabbits. Well, if you have some specific questions, ask away. They're not terribly difficult. They're pretty easy to deal with. And I got lots of videos on them. So thank you for joining the live. We're happy to ask or answer specific questions. But just ask away. We'll get them answered. Skylord Exotic says, when I was in high school, the school did a fair where they showed off old home devices, and I was the only one who knew how to use a home phone and a landline. It seems pretty straightforward and simple. How could nobody know how to do that? What are you doing back there, Max? This is the only room that has carpet anymore. He likes to come back in here and lay down in here sometimes. Buck Reynolds says, we had a party line phone. Oh, I bet that was fun. I remember party lines. Don says, I had the kind you picked up the receiver, shared with a neighbor type line, then came dial rotary phones. Yeah, that's a party line. You shared it with the neighbor. So you picked up the phone, had to make sure the neighbor wasn't on it before you could make a call. Yeah, that's a party line. Zora says, I turned 70 May 1st. Used to be on a party line with several other families. Oh, yeah. Yep, nostalgia tonight, huh? Brandon said something, but he retracted it, so I don't know. Don says, I have a 50-foot cord on my main landline. The rest of them are digital, LOL. Yeah, I can remember when we first came out with cordless phones, not cell phones, cordless landlines, where you didn't have a cord tying it to the base. You could walk around the house, and then somebody would set it down somewhere and not put it back on the base, and it wouldn't charge, and it would die, and then, it was a huge pain. But anyway. Jacob says, I don't even need to look stuff up anymore. I just talk about stuff around my phone. Yeah, no kidding. That's a little creepy, isn't it? Sometimes it doesn't bother me as much when I just talk about it than it shows me ads for it. It's whenever I'm just thinking about it, and then suddenly I'm getting ads. I haven't said a word, and then I'm getting ads. That happens sometimes too. It's probably just coincidence, but you never know. So Much Joy says, Zoar, happy belated birthday. And wow, I love the old days. Think us young people in our 20s are missing so much in life compared to our parents and grandparents. In a lot of ways, you probably are. I mean, and by the way, happy birthday to Zohar. I didn't even know. Oh, I missed that. You said May 1st. Didn't even catch that. Happy birthday to you. You're a little older than me. I'm only 51 right now, so you got a little bit of time on me. You probably remember quite a bit more than I do. I mean, you lived longer, so you know more. But anyway, yeah, there's a whole lot. I mean, you probably are missing a lot of things. You know, when I was younger, I mean, all the way up to my even high school, you know, all the way through high school, from being a young kid all the way through high school, you know, there was no internet. A good portion of that, we only had 3 channels on the TV. There wasn't really much on. So you just spent all your time outside with friends. You had to go somewhere to go. You know, I'd ride my bike before I got my driver's license, but we'd have to go somewhere, and we'd go everywhere. We go all over the place. We just spent all our time outside. Nobody worried about it. It was a great time in a lot of ways. But there are definitely a lot of conveniences now that I don't necessarily want to give up. It's hard to think about how we lived back in the day, you know, but I say this all the time. I am so glad there was no social media back when I was in my teens and early 20s. There was no social media. There was nothing like, you know, no internet, nothing like that to where we could post all the stupid things that we did when we were young. There's no documentation of that anywhere. Only me and like 2 or 3 other people know about all those stupid things that we did. Don says, I got the biggest jumbos ever. The eggs from Gopher Ridge Quail Farm. H.P. Murray. Call them giants. Awesome. 4 weeks. 4-week weight is 9.2 ounces so far. Well, that is pretty good size. That sounds fantastic. Skylord Exotic says that was 1 year before I was born. What was a year before you were born? I don't know which one we're talking about. Anyway, Don says, I saw that dumb picture. Cracked me up. So Much Joy says, I was born in 2003. Oh, wow. Sky Exotic says 2004. Yeah, that just doesn't even seem possible. You know, that people born in 2004 would be on here talking to us. But I mean, that puts you at what, like 20-ish years old, right? 21 years old, roughly. Chester says, I still have a landline. We don't have cell service due to being surrounded by national forest. Yeah, it'll get there eventually. Or the new Skylink stuff where you don't need cellular. You can do satellite, basically. So Much Joy says, my mom said it was awesome when caller ID came into use. No more picking up the phone for random marketing calls, LOL. Yeah, no kidding. You know, I worked at call centers, you know, forever, for the last 30 years, roughly. So right out of high school, basically, I started working call centers. And when caller ID came out, they thought, well, that's going to put an end to call centers, right? No, it made no difference. But then the DNC list came out, the do not call list came out, and they thought that was going to shut all the call centers down. Nope, it didn't shut them down. There was just laws we had to work with then. So much easier back in the day, though, when you could just call anybody at any time for any reason. Skylord Exotic says, I wasn't allowed to have a personal phone until I was like 15, and now my little brother got his, and he's only 5. I think that may be a little too young for a personal. I'm assuming a cell phone is what he's got. That's probably a little bit on the young side. I know that they have phones now that are like really locked down for like kids and things, but I personally think that's way too young. My kids did not have cell phones until they were well over that. I mean, they were, in fact, I never bought them cell phones. They bought their own when they got out of the house and got out on their own. K Moss says, Chester Hickman, same here. Have a cell, but usually can't find it. I carry my phone with me all the time. I'm pretty reliant on it. I'm not terrible, but I use it all the time for all kinds. I mean, you got a computer right here. I mean, anything you want to know is right here. Anything, that's pretty convenient. Jacob says, Chris, if you ever make it up to Wisconsin, I will get you out salmon fishing. Yeah, I bet that's fun. I was born in Michigan, Battle Creek, Michigan. I don't really remember. I was 2 years old when my parents are both from this area. My dad from Neosho, my mom from Webb City, which, I live in Joplin. I went to Webb City High School. I grew up in Webb City, which is just right there next to us. I mean, it's just, you drive out of Joplin into Webb City. So So my parents are both from this area. They moved to Michigan, had 2 kids. When I was 2 years old, they moved back. So I don't really remember it real well, but my dad would talk about salmon fishing up there off the lake, and it sounded like a good time. Bill Cox says, I got a bag phone in 1992. I got rid of my landline when it started costing more than my cell phone. I remember bag phones. My buddy had one of the first ones that came out. It was around 94 probably when he got his. Don says, people freak out when they come here and have no cell phones. The younger they are, the more they freak. Yeah, of course. Keone says, I live in the boonies and our phone company still charges for long distance. I won't get a cell phone. I was a programmer for a phone company and don't like phones or computers anymore. Yeah, well, I guess that makes sense. No reason you have to. I mean, yeah, but yeah, long distance on landline phones, I mean, it's still a deal. You're right. I just haven't had a landline phone in forever, so I haven't had to worry about long distance calls. So Much Joy says, my mom hasn't let any of us get phones when we were young, but she pointed out that for most people now, it's like a free babysitter for their young kids, and she's right. Yeah, it's not a good thing either, really. I mean, there's some good that comes with that, but there's a lot of bad that comes with that. It's not, you don't want to get your kids relying on screens too early. It'll just suck their life away. Don says, my landline is fiber, and with the internet, if you want to use a call in this town, you walk up to the highway and stand in the road. Everyone can hear you talk, LOL. That's funny. Desert Homestead says, phone numbers with letters in them. Yeah, phone numbers with letters in them. There's a lot. They still do that. That's still a common thing. But yeah, that used to be a bigger deal, didn't it? Let's see. Doina says, I'm also one who rewatches your videos for info on quail and rabbits. Much appreciated. Any news on the mystery thief? Well, first of all, thank you very much for watching the videos. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're finding good information out of them. No, I never did figure out. I mean, I've got the camera up now. The most I've seen, a couple of dogs that came by, and I still have ones that show up every once in a while, but usually they just run on through. They're not really stopping and pestering the rabbits or anything. I still find it hard to believe that the dogs would have gotten, I don't see any way they would have gotten the rabbits out of the cages. So I just don't think that's possible, but who knows? Sergio says, did you start with a specific breed? A specific breed of what? Rabbit? Of quail? What are we talking about exactly? Let's see. When I first got into quail, I started with standard brown quail, and that's what I raised for a very long time. But I did end up getting some different colors. I can't remember which ones came first. And then eventually I got jumbos because, I think there's videos on my channel. You can look back and find them probably of when I first got the jumbo quail because it was kind of a newer thing. Nobody had them. It was a rare thing at that time. Now it's just everywhere. It's common. But at the time it was something you maybe heard about from time to time, but nobody ever saw them actually. Nobody ever knew. It was just kind of almost sounded like a myth kind of thing, and then all of a sudden they're everywhere. Dawn says, I have 4 cordless digital landline wireless phones, but I have to have one stay on the base to keep the hardwire one on the wall. Yeah. Yep. Skylord Exotics 20, So Much Joy 21. That's how old you guys are. So, to be in my 20s again. There's some good and some bad with that. I don't know if I'd run and relive my 20s. My 30s, maybe. That would be okay. Steve says, we used to get grounded to the house. Nowadays, it's a punishment to be outside. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Emily says, it's all odd to me when people are born after the year 2000. Yep. Keone says, my turkey poults started gobbling and unfurling their tails this week. 2 toms. Really enjoy these guys. I bet. I bet they'd be fun to raise. I don't know that I could get away with turkeys either, especially not toms. If they were gobbling, I think that would draw attention and get me complained on. Buck says, I was born in 1950. Well, you're about 24 years older than me then. So Much Joy says, definitely, yikes, way too young. Skylord Exotic says he's got an iPad, Switch, phone, his own Apple TV, etc. At 5 years old? Is that what you said? He was 5? That doesn't seem like a good idea to me. Brandon says, I remember when my old teacher told me we would have a calculator, or we wouldn't have a calculator with us at all times. Yeah, no kidding. They used to tell us that, right? You're not going to have a calculator with you forever. You need to learn how to do this with that. Yeah, well, here's my calculator right here, right? I also remember that when our teachers told us that one day nobody's going to carry any money or anything. All our money is going to be on cards, and we're going to just use cards to access all our money. And we all thought that was ridiculous. That's never going to happen. And look at us now. I hardly ever carry cash anymore. I buy everything on a cashback credit card, pay it off once a month, get the cash back. But the other thing that they told us in school, I remember this was like 6th grade maybe. So you're looking at late 80s. They said one day we'll be able to see each other when we talk on the phone. And we thought that was going to be the coolest thing ever. Turns out FaceTime is not really that cool. And I never use it. But it's here. And we thought it was going to be awesome, but it really isn't. Andy says, I will not get my granddaughter a cell phone. Good choice, I think. And I don't know. I mean, as they get older, in their teens, I could see getting teenagers cell phones. They're out, if they're out and about and they're doing things, be able to communicate with them while they're out and about. Although we never had that when I was a kid and we somehow lived. But anyhow, Zohar says, what's a normal price for non-registered rabbits? Well, I think it varies significantly based on where you live. Oh my goodness, we're at 8:01. I got to wrap this one up here pretty quick. I've been rambling, haven't I? Okay, so it varies on where you live. Around here, non-registered, I mean, no rabbits really registered anyway, but non-pedigree rabbits around here probably go for roughly $20, something like that. If you get pedigree, if we're not talking show rabbits here, we're talking just regular meat rabbits. Pedigree is a little bit more, maybe 30 to 40, somewhere around in there. Maybe even up to 50 if you've got pretty decent bloodlines. All right, guys, there's a whole bunch of chat here I'm not getting to, but we're past time, so I got to wrap this one up. Good hanging out with you. Should be back next Thursday. Don't see any reason why not. We'll try to get a video out for you guys this weekend as well. And until then, we'll see you next week. And as always, God bless.